Ooh, you know what time it is. Time to grow your brain. Here are 50 amazing facts to blow your mind. The Jetsons originally ran for only one season of 24 episodes in 1963 to 1964 before getting canceled due to low ratings. It gained popularity in syndicated reruns, leading to 51 more episodes being produced in the mid-1980s. In 2009, an orangutan in an Australian zoo aborted an ingenious escape plan. She short-circuited the electric fence around her enclosure by jamming a stick into the wires connected to it and then piled up debris to climb a wall. However, she sat on the fence for 30 minutes before voluntarily returning. Veggie straws are actually worse for you than most potato chips on the market. Portugal fought a 13-year colonial war to keep African colonies long after the rest of Europe have given up theirs. Eventually, the military got sick of dying in a pointless war, overthrew the dictatorship, and installed a democracy. The medieval tradition of Easter laughter, where priests would insert raunchy humor into their Easter Day sermons, is a thing. This was to honor Jesus' resurrection, which was viewed as a practical joke that God played on the devil. Meth is legally prescribed to people in the United States. It's called disoxin. Humans glow in the dark, but the light is 1,000 times weaker than the human eye can perceive. In February of 2025, a group of 8 beavers constructed a dam in the exact location that the Czech government had planned to build one. The initial project had been in the planning stage since 2018 and would cost over $1.2 million. Since around 2010, the number of countries in the process of autocratization has risen above the number of countries democratizing. On February 22nd of 2020, David Ayers, who's 42 years old, was the winning goalie for the Carolina Hurricanes against the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was a maintenance manager and Zamboni driver for a minor league team. He was asked to fill in for the starting backup goalies who were injured. Walt Disney in 1947 gave permission to the University of Oregon to use Donald Duck's likeness as their mascot. The reputation of pigeons as dirty is fairly recent. The abundance of food in post-war North America attracted pigeons to cities where their large numbers led to a large amount of defecation. Before that, juvenile pigeon meat, known as squab, was a popular food source throughout the world. In 2019, research found that women buy 62% of all new cars sold in the United States, and in addition, women influence more than 85% of all car purchases. Stephen King never cashed the $5,000 check that Frank Darabont paid him in 1987 for the rights to adopt the novella Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. Eventually, King had the check framed and returned it to Darabont with a note that read, "In case you ever need bail money, love, Steve." The Navajo language was used to carry top-secret messages during the Pacific Campaign, World War II. Navajo, a Native American language, is incredibly complex and obscure. It was thought to be impossible to decipher by the Japanese army. As late as the 1950s and early 1960s, the term funk and funky were considered indelicate and inappropriate for use in polite company. Anne Rice's birth name was Howard Allen. She became Anne on her first day of school when a nun asked her what her name was. She told the nun Anne because she considered it a pretty name. Her mother, who was with her, let it go without correcting her and then legally changed her name in 1947. Eminem used actual information about Anthony Mackie's real life in his final rap battle versus Mackie's Papa Doc in 8 Mile from 2002, making fun of his actual upbringing for the scene. Mackie said M searched him online and learned about his nice childhood, which M then used against him in the scene. After putting down a rebellion led by his brother John Lackland, Richard the Lionheart forgave John by saying that he was a child who had evil counselors. John was 27 years old. In 1990, a truck driver jumped into a moat in an enclosure at a Detroit zoo to save a chimpanzee from drowning when the chimp inexplicably jumped into the water. He said everyone in the place just was standing around watching this monkey drown, so he knew he had to do something about it. Side note, don't mess with chimps because sometimes they'll eat your face. Queen Alexandra, queen consort to King Edward VII, wore high collars and chokers to conceal a neck scar. She also walked with a slight limp caused by rheumatic fever. Her style and popularity were so influential that women began copying the Alexandra limp and chokers became highly fashionable. TV shows love hiring twins for newborn roles. Twins double the filming time, they swap them in and out, and since they're often born premature and smaller, they look more like fresh newborns on screen, even if they're actually a few weeks old. On the 8th of May 1945, on Victoria in Europe Day, the princesses Elizabeth and Margaret secretly slipped out of Buckingham Palace to join London's jubilant crowds. Queen Elizabeth later described this as one of the most memorable nights of her life. Alanis Morissette's album Jagged Little Pill was released on June 1995 and became 16 times platinum in July of 1998. It took nearly 26 years to reach 17 times platinum in January of 2024. In 2013, a noodle shop owner in China protested a court fine by paying 10,000 won in 0.1 won coins. Delivered in 8 giant bags, 18 bank staff members had to spend a whole day counting and only got through half of it. Although American Samoa is a territory, those born there are US nationals, not citizens. They can hold a US passport and can freely enter or live anywhere in the United States. However, they cannot apply for citizenship unless they are outside of American Samoa. Danny DeVito actually directed Matilda from 1996, and how incredibly kind he was to the Matilda actress Mara Wilson, and even made sure that an unfinished cut was shown to her dying mother. In 2013, it was proved that there are infinite pairs of prime numbers that can differ by less than 70 million. The oldest operating school in the world is the King's School in Canterbury, England, at 1420 years old. It was founded in AD 597 during the late antiquity era, 100 years after the fall of Rome. John Paul I was Pope for just 33 days prior to his health and is the most recent Italian-born Pope. The notion that congenitally blind people can't develop schizophrenia is a myth. There have been multiple confirmed cases of people born blind who were later also diagnosed with schizophrenia. Type O is the primary blood type among indigenous populations in the Americas, particularly within Central and Southern American populations, with a frequency of nearly 100%. 56% of Americans prioritize finances when finding a partner over love. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons reports over 15.6 million cosmetic procedures took place in 2020. Women underwent approximately 92% of all cosmetic procedures, while men accounted for just 8%. Voice actor Casey Kasem, known for voicing Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, quit the Transformers cartoon project because it depicted a Saharan kingdom named Carbamia. Buzz Aldrin was known among his fellow astronauts for being very difficult to work with, to the point where Neil Armstrong was offered a chance to replace Aldrin with someone else from the Apollo 11 moon landing. Armstrong thought it over for a day before choosing to stick with Aldrin for the mission. When you sign a Starlink contract, you agree that no Earth-based government has authority or sovereignty over Martian activities. In 1912, a boy named Bobby Dunbar went missing. 8 months later, he was found with another family who claimed that it was their son, Bruce Anderson. The Andersons didn't have the money to fight in court, so they lost custody. In 2004, DNA testing confirmed that the boy wasn't Bobby. Canada became the first country in the world to ban the sale, advertising, and import of baby walkers in 2004. In February of 1936, Pope Pius XI received a message from the leader of the German government congratulating him on the anniversary of his coronation. Pius's response criticized the leader of the Germans regime for such force that Germany's foreign secretary tried to suppress his response, but Pius insisted that the message be given to that leader. You know who it is, but I can't say his name because of demonetization reasons, but yeah. Germany, or you know. Globus pharyngeus is the persistent but painless sensation of having a pill, fold bolus, or some other obstruction in the throat where there's none. As of 2014, there are around 250 bodies that were cryonically preserved. Only one of those bodies predates 1974. In 2009, a man hit a side of his anus in an attempt to Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Nayef, which was described as a novel technique. Even though he got within handshake distance of the prince, his body absorbed most of the blast. So the prince was only slightly injured. Fast food restaurants frequently use Columbus, Ohio to test out new products because the demographics of the city closely resemble those of the country as a whole. After Post Malone found out that other patrons at the Houston bar that he was in had covered his check, he asked the waitress to charge him for anything that he could leave a tip. The waitress then rang up a $1 bill, and in return, he tipped her $20,000, leaving a total of $20,001. The actor with the most on-screen kills is Samuel L. Jackson with 1,734. Competing for the top 5 are Mila Jovovich with almost 1,300, Jet Li with almost 1,100, Dolph Lundgren with almost 1,000, and Arnold Schwarzenegger with almost 900. Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish are so similar that speakers can usually read each other's languages. Norwegians understand others best, likely due to their language's blend of Danish-style writing and Swedish-like pronunciation. The Burger King chain is not allowed to use the name Burger King in Mattoon, Illinois. That's because there's a restaurant there that's already protected the name as a state trademark in 1959 and defended it in court against BK. In 2013, the first known Tinder match in Antarctica happened when 2 researchers at the McMurdo station and another camping at the Dry Valleys swiped right on each other. They were about a 45 helicopter ride apart. Marcus McDilla was an American pilot who was captured 2 days after Hiroshima was bombed. He was tortured and interrogated about how many atomic bombs America had, and knowing nothing about their existence, lied and said America had 100 and would destroy Tokyo and Kyoto within several days. But that's it. Let me know which one of these you guys found most interesting. Leave a like on this video for the algorithm, and I will see you in the next video, so be sure to subscribe because there's lots more coming. See you soon.